I want to welcome Mr. Thomas Bowman. He's the owner of Solutions Heating and Air. I want to welcome you to my show, and I'm so thankful that you allow me to come down here to interview you to talk about your success in business.
Yes, sir.
And for the listeners, obviously don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
First of all, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for allowing me the opportunity to interview with you on your platform. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm actually here from Colombia, South Carolina. I was born and raised here. I spent several years in Greenville as well, in between the ages of about 3 to 10 or 11. And then returned back here to Colombia. But I'm originally from Colombia, South Carolina.
Oh, okay. And what brought you to Colombia?
It's home sweet home. You know, you've heard that phrase. There's nothing like home. I even moved away as an adult. Lived in Chicago, Illinois, lived in Pennsylvania, and still yet decided to come back here to Colombia.
Right. And weren't you, I think you said you were in the military or something? What?
Yes, sir.
What branch of service?
I was in the Navy. I studied steam propulsion, so it was a similar field, same application, just a different medium. Instead of using refrigerant, you was using water for steam and boiler situations.
And so that's what got you into the heat and air business?
Not actually.
Okay.
I actually started from this career path in middle school. I took apart a remote control car that my mom bought me.
Yeah.
I was probably around the age of 10, 11 then.
Uh-huh.
And I actually was able to put the car back together, and it worked. So when I seen that gave me great excitement, because I knew if that car didn't work that I would probably be killed, because my mom spent good money to purchase that car for me that I begged for. Nevertheless, once I put the car back together, I went back to school and started talking to my guidance counselor, asking them, what type of field should I consider going into, because this is what took place, that I took the car apart and I like to figure out things. I like to fix things with my hands. So the guidance counselor actually told me that I should look at mechanical engineering. And once I did that, I started taking college prep classes in middle school on into high school, ended up drawing blueprints in an AutoCAD class that I had. Once I would draw blueprints in the AutoCAD class, I was dean of the school that I was at, which was Hayward Career Center at that time. And so once I got the dean's list, they actually afforded me an internship. And I internship with a large commercial outfit here in Colombia called W.O. Blackstone.
Wow.
And I was drawing, regenerating blueprints in the engineering department. And one day I would hear the service techs and the installers coming complaining to the engineers that, hey, this material ain't working out in the field.
Right. So
I used that as a scapegoat in order to get out of the cubicle.
Yeah.
And we would go from building to building, meeting new people, So you were never in one place too long. You would work on something, then it would be on to the next job site. And I felt that was more of my speed. So once I experienced that, I never looked back at becoming a mechanical engineer.
Wow.
And I started in the field of heating and air then. And that led me to later going into the Navy, taking up the position of a machinist mate, which studied steam propulsion and boilers.
Wow. And I know coming here, I didn't know what to expect, but when I pulled up, I'm like, wow, you have a pretty big operation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you obviously have several employees that work for you here.
Yes,
and,
sir.
You have a very professional. It just looks like it's done right. So again, like I said, I'm so glad I came down. How did you come up with the name for your company?
I just honestly, I prayed and asked God, because when I started out in the business and I decided that I was going to go out on my own, I wanted to make sure that it was a name that not only was unique, catchy, but also represented him. So I just prayed and asked him, what he would have me to name it. And solutions is what I came up with, because if, that's ultimately in life, that's what we're purpose for.
Right.
We deal with issues and problems all the time, but we always need a solution.
Absolutely. And starting out with your business, how many hours would you say that you put in building your business? How many hours? What does that look like for someone who wants to get into the heating and air business?
Well, with heating and air, most contractors say that they're 24/7. I think I may have been the epitome of that. I was working anywhere between 60 to 90 hours a week, depending on the workload. So because it was just me starting out, whatever call came in, regardless of what time of the day or what time of the night, I would answer that phone and I would go. And because of that, it gained me more clients, because even to this day, some contractors you call, even some of the larger contractors, you call them and people won't pick up the phone. So simply by me being on call 24/7, answering the phone, whether it's day or night or midnight, I would continue to grab more and more clients. So time, it was endless. I was always on call. So it would vary, but it typically between 60 to 90 hours is what I would be working when I started out by myself.
And of course, that what led to building that successful customer base. Just showing that work ethic that you had.
Yes, sir. Showing the work ethic, making sure that the price was comparable to, other contractors, not trying to get rich off of one job, but looking to develop relationship, and just doing quality work, being integral in your work. Heat and air is just like a mechanic working on your car. You have no knowledge of what your car is made of and all of the different components or how to fix it, or you have no need of a mechanic. So with this field, it's similar, because a mechanic can tell you one thing,
right,
because you can't see in the engine or under the hood or those different components. They can tell you that they fixing whatever they want to tell you.
Exactly.
And you just have to trust that, that mechanic is operating in integrity and honesty. So with me doing that in this particular field is what gained most of my client base.
Right. And with all that going on, were there any fears in starting your business when you first started out? I mean, we all have fears. Like I had fears. Most everybody I talked to had fears.
Oh yeah.
Were there? How did you handle those fears?
Yeah. You always have the fear when you're a sole proprietor. If you don't work, you don't eat. But at the same time, that's a principle of the Bible. That's what the word tells us. A man that don't work, don't eat.
Absolutely.
So, with that in mind, I had to make sure that I stayed healthy enough, first of all, to be able to do the work. And secondly, I had to trust that God didn't allow me or call me to this, that he would leave me and not provide for me. So the fear was not having enough work.
Right.
Thinking where are the jobs going to come from? Am I going to have enough money to provide for the family? But one of the strategies that I used from my bishop sharing with me before I actually started out was, he told me, make sure that you have anywhere between 3 to 6 months of your expenses saved up.
Right.
So no matter if 3 or 6 months pass by and you don't have one dime coming in, you know that you and your family and your business is still operational and taken care of. So I followed that advice, and that gave me a sense of security even starting out.
Right.
But the clientele continued to grow.
Right. And look like you saved up pretty good, because your company is huge. I mean, I went out back, went out to the warehouse with you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's huge, man. I mean, for you to be, obviously, I think you're a little bit younger than I am, but being as young as you are, to have a company like this and all these several employees, man,
yes, sir.
That's extremely successful, man. So were there any adversity that you face when doing your business? You know how you start a business and you have family and friends. Those are the hardest ones to convinced to support you, and you get more support from strangers. Did you ever face anything like that?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily family and friends for me. For me, I would say it was breaking the barrier of social and economic status. Starting out, we deal with the adversity of, first of all, being black, right, and secondly, being a black man, and doing things working to do things on an excellent scale to where when you're perceived as a company that very well could be even larger than what you are.
Right.
So perception is everything. So my hardest adversity was to alleviate a negative perception. So we always made sure that we were clean cut, that we were uniform, that we were professional. That was probably the hardest adversity that I had to overcome. But once I broke past that social barrier, then a lot of other doors started to open up.
Right.
I believe to be a likable guy. So a lot of my friends and family, they did support me. One thing that was slightly disappointing is the alma mater that I was brought up in, Colombia High. A lot of my classmates, they knew and know that I run a business.
Right.
But still and yet I don't see a lot of those.
Yeah.
So that is a little disappointing, considering that my business is not too far from the high school.
Exactly.
So, but it is what it is. Those who I've been called to, those are the people that contact us and support us, and it's continuing to grow. So
absolutely,
adversity only makes us stronger.
Right. And I don't know why, man, it just seems like that all the time. Your friends, it just seems like they're slow to react to what you have going on. But obviously you pushed past that for several years.
Yes, sir.
And you built a great company. What has been your greatest inspiration during all this?
I would say my bishop and my wife. I've seen him build a church from nothing, just, him having a desire to see people saved, see people helped. And it was just him at one point in time. And it went from him just going to college campuses to working, praying and ministering out of a college dorm room, to an apartment, to a warehouse, to a storefront, and to building our current location. And he did it all by faith. So he is one of my greatest inspirations. And then my wife, because even before I made a transition from where I was, she gave me the confidence just in telling me that, God had more for me than where I was. And so having to see that people from the outside saw more in me than at that time I saw in myself, that inspired me to go harder, and then I have a family that has always worked for themselves as well. So my pop, he was an inspiration. He worked in the construction industry, and he used to own a log truck. He worked for several companies. He had his own heavy equipment. So all of that played a part in inspiring me to do what I'm doing now.
Right. And since we're here talking about success, and obviously my reason for coming to interview you to talk about your success of your business is hopefully that, in which I know it will, based on everything that you've already said, is to inspire someone that wants to start their own business.
Absolutely.
That maybe wants to get into the heating and air. And you're giving these little tidbits about what it took for you to get into it, and how they could actually get into it. So the main purpose is just basically, like I said, to continue to inspire people that want to get ahead in life, to become successful in whatever field or whatever they want to get into. So, and that leads me into, how do you define success?
I would define success as you just fulfilling the purpose and the call that's on your life. And how you identify that is knowing what's your gifts, what's your talents, what are you good at, what's your passions. And I found my passion and I followed that. And it happened to be a skill that I was good at.
Right.
So people can sometimes have a passion but not be skillful at that passion. So you have to be careful in following passion only. Right. So I would say if you have a passion and you're skillful at that passion, then that very well could be a calling. So success for me is making sure that I fulfill that call, and whatever it be. For me, this vocation is ministry. So, you know, ministry comes in many forms, shapes, and fashion. And even as what you're doing, you're ministering because you're showing not just a negative view, but you're showing a positive view, something that's going to give people hope, something that's going to inspire them possibly to do what you're doing. So at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, regardless of what our vocation is. We want to inspire somebody else that may have the same passion, the same skill set that we have in order to possibly get in our field or use those same principles that we use in the vocation that we do to actually apply in whatever vocation that they can find that they're skillful at.
Absolutely. And like the Bible says, your passion basically was your gift.
That's right.
And your gift put you in the presence of great men.
Yes, sir.
So, and that's all you did. You just did what the Bible said.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, look at you now. How many years have you been in business?
We've been in business now 10 years, going on 10 years. August of 2020 was 9. So August of next year will be 10 for us.
Wow.
But I've actually been in the industry for 22 years. So like I said, I started out as doing an internship when I was only 14 years old. I really wasn't even supposed to be working for them because it wasn't legal. But they pulled some strings and made it happen to where I was actually able to do the internship. So I actually started when I was 14. And
that's excellent, because at 14, you actually took action on your life to get yourself set up for where you're at 10, 15, 20 years later.
Where I wanted to go. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they fall short of that. They don't want to take the action to put themselves ahead.
Yes, sir.
And so that's excellent, man, at age 14. I mean, like you said, 20 something years, you look back and you look around your building, the lot that you're on and everything. It's like, it's incredible, man.
Thank you.
That's something. What mindset do you think people have to make themselves successful?
You have to be relentless. You have to be relentless. You have to be dedicated. And you have to have a sense of confidence in yourself, and more so in God, because if it wasn't for Him, I wouldn't be running a business. I never even planned on running a business. I never thought to be running a business, but as I was ushered into that position, I knew that I had to, give it all that I had in order to make it successful. So you definitely have to have a mindset of commitment. You got to have a mindset of ambition. You got to have a mindset of confidence. And all of those things intertwined together is going to definitely make you successful.
Absolutely. And going through all that, there had to be some sacrifices.
Absolutely.
Building your business. What type of sacrifices have you had to make to build your business from ground zero to where you are now?
Well, like you asked me before, how many hours did I work? So time was one of my greatest sacrifices, having to miss special events, birthdays, school events with the kids. There's been times to where date nights between my wife and I had to be put on hold, in order to make sure that I caught that call that I answered, at 7, 8 o'clock at night. Or, sleep was disturbed, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
And I'll get dressed and get up and go. So the biggest sacrifice was time. Another sacrifice is a lot of people think that once you own a business or once you start your own business that you're going to have all of this money, that you're going to get rich overnight. But the truth of the matter is sometimes you have to sacrifice your wants for your needs.
Absolutely.
You know, the need to keep the business running, the need to purchase a new van, the need to purchase a building. And in order to do that, you have to sacrifice those wants of spending for something temporal or immediate for something that you'll gain later. I once heard a quote that, you know, in order to be successful, or the different mindset of people that are successful versus the people that are not, is the people that are successful, they willing to sacrifice today what they would want, you know, in order to get tomorrow what they need.
Absolutely.
So I believe I said that correctly.
I believe you did too.
Yeah,
and you're absolutely right, because if you think about a lot of the self-made millionaires, I don't know of any of them that I've heard that sleeps 8 hours a day. Sleep.
I remember hearing my mother tell my brother, "You'll sleep when you dead. You'll sleep when you dead."
Absolutely.
So the proper way to say that quote was, we are willing to do today what others are not willing to do in order to be able to do tomorrow what others are not able to do.
Absolutely.
So whereas, you know, some people are, like you saying, they sleeping in to 10, 11 o'clock, I'm up at 5.
Yeah.
So that I can spend time in prayer, I can spend time in the word that's unrushed. Yeah. And that way you can get direction. By 6 o'clock, 7:30, 7 o'clock, you're already planning or reviewing your day for, you know, throughout the rest of the day. So you already have a preconceived time frame of what you're going to do. Whereas somebody that's waking up late, you know, that saying of old is definitely true. The early bird gets the worm.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you can't waste time sleeping.
Exactly.
You have to be working.
Because while you're sleeping, somebody else is doing exactly what you should be doing.
That's
and they're
right.
getting ahead of you.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's some advice that you would give someone that maybe wanting to get into heating and air and starting their own heating and air company? What type of schooling? I think you talked about it a little bit earlier, but just kind of expand on it a little bit. What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say, in addition to the heating and air school, whether you go to a technical school or a trade school at a younger age in high school or whatever, in addition to that, make sure that you take some business courses. That was one of the areas that I feel like I did it in a flip-flop or upside down manner. I had the skill of how to fix heating and air. I enjoyed it, you know, that sort of thing. So I could do the labor, but learning the business side of it was a completely different beast. Right. So if I had any advice to give to somebody that wanted to do what I was doing and to do it in proper steps or process of starting it, is one, make sure that you get the education, get your paperwork in order, but in getting your education, make sure that you get a business background as well. Right. Because you can grow the business fast by doing the labor. You can gain more clientele by doing good work, doing it at an affordable price. But as the business grows, it gets to a point to where a business mindset has to kick in. So if you could do it opposite of what I done it, I would say get the business portion of it together first and foremost, and then you could actually hire technicians that have the skills to gain more work or gain more clientele. Right.
And what's unique about your business? What's unique about Solutions Heating and Air that's different than all the other companies out there?
For us, my biggest thing is I always like to educate our clients. So we're not just in and out of the home. Clients want to know as much information as they can. They want to be educated on how the system works. What can they do to prevent breakdowns? How they can run it to make sure that they get the most efficiency out of the system. So those are all points that we share with them while we're on our visits. And then secondly, customer service. On our install brochures, I put that we care for more than just your heating and air. Mm-hmm. And what that means is we're in your home, but sometimes as a heating and air technician, going in people's homes, one, you have to be trusted. Secondly, you have to be professional and courteous, or basically having customer service. So sometimes you're the only person that client may see. Mm-hmm. You may go into an older person home. You may go into a person that doesn't have any family in state. You may you may go into a client's home to where they're dealing with some personal issue. Mm-hmm. Most of the time they're already distressed because the heat or the air is broke. So now you're almost like a counselor, you're a friend, mm-hmm. you're a confidant, you're an ear to listen to. So that plays a huge part. We're not just there to make money only, but we also care for the clients. So it's been numerous of times that I've had the opportunity to pray for people. Right. A young lady called me the other day, and she was calling to get a free quote to mm-hmm. get her heating and air replaced. Mm-hmm. And just in the midst of me sharing with her the different financial options in order to get her finance to replace it, she's crying. Right. And so at that point in time, it's no longer about the heating and air. Right. Now it's about you. Exactly. So I stopped what I was doing. The heating and air was no longer a conversation, and I asked her, could I pray for her? Right. And so it allows us the opportunity to be able to minister to people as well. Whereas I don't know that other companies, that's a focus, is more right. so about coming, getting your heating and air fixed, getting that check or cash or whatever, and getting out of there. Yeah, and majority of the time, that's what it is. You're like, oh, hey, well, it'll be this price. Okay, you can't afford it. Okay, click. Right, right. So with us, we care about the client. It's not just heating and air for me. It's ministry. Right. And how do you advertise your business? The greatest portion of our advertisement is just the word of mouth. Right. So whenever you treat somebody with respect, you treat them with quality service, you give them great customer service, and you give them a comparable rate to do whatever service it is that you're providing, word will spread. So word of mouth is our biggest advertisement. We do some social media advertising, but that's about it. Social media advertisement and word of mouth is our biggest advertisement. Wow. Well, Mr. Bowman, I want to thank you again for allowing me to come here. You've given some excellent advice on success and how you got started and some of the struggles that you've had to deal with. Yes, sir. And how you overcame those struggles. And I know for a fact that this is going to help someone that watches this video from today forward and on. So yes, sir. Again, I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to come here. I thank you for the opportunity to interview me, and I pray that it does help someone, and we are available. Like you said, if you have young people or whoever that is looking to start, in entrepreneurship, regardless of whatever the area is, some principles of business are universal. So we're always open to share whatever knowledge, whatever wisdom that we can with others that's looking to start businesses as well. So thank you, Mr. Johnson, for the opportunity to interview. Thank you.